Hello and welcome back to Anna Rose Reads the podcast. I am your host, Anna, and I'm shaking things up a little bit today. I think that we all deserve a little treat, a little happy, and so this episode is part of a bonus series that I was intending to release as bonus episodes at the end of every week. But I thought, why not make it a feature episode? Why not just put it on that Tuesday slot where everybody tunes in to listen to their podcast as usual? Well, that's what I'm doing. Executive decision. I, for one, am absolutely so busy right now with school, because I'm back in school, working on Darker Times. I'm editing my own little project. I'm doing a lot. And all I could think about was how much these conversations brought me joy whenever I recorded them a month or so ago with my fellow podcasters, some of my esteemed colleagues who I am so fortunate to share the space with. And I thought, you know what, the hell with it. We're going to pump the brakes on reading for a little bit, and we're just going to celebrate our fellow podcasters. So that's what we're doing. So, that being said, Sean O'Connor joins me today to chat about what's up with him basically this year in the world of podcasting in 2026. You probably know him best from Macabre Daily's Paper Cuts section. He has done some wonderful things with that section, and we talk about the state of horror mostly and just kind of go back and forth about that. But if you haven't checked out Macabre Daily yet, I very much implore you to do so. It is an incredible platform. I love what Sean's doing with the space. There's so many kind of up and coming segments and writers coming from Macabre Daily. So yeah, definitely go give them a good read, give them some love and attention, and yeah, enjoy this conversation with me and Sean. I'll catch up with you after. Hello, Sean. Welcome to Anna Rose Reads the podcast. This is actually your first time being on my podcast. I had the luxury of being on yours already, but how the hell are you?
I'm good, and I don't know what to do. I have done so few interviews where it's me that I'm like, oh, wait, I'm used to blathering on at my guests, not the other way around, but you don't blather.
Well, I felt the same way whenever I was going on yours. I was like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know how to talk about
So
myself. I don't know
weird.
how to talk about other people. So this is just simply reciprocal. It's your turn to shine. You know.
That's a lot of pressure. Ay, ay, ay.
Well, in the event that folks don't know who you are the same way that I do you want to go ahead and briefly introduce yourself for my listeners, and then we'll catch up from there?
Be happy to. I am the editor of the Paper Cuts horror literature column for macabredaily.com, and now also the Paper Cuts podcast that's part of the Macabre Daily Podcast Network. So yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see I feel like the podcast is growing a little bit every time that I see something about it. Like y'all are able to move over from YouTube to some more platforms, and it makes it easier for my listening. I can tell you that much whenever I'm in the car driving to work, or when I used to be
My
driving to work these days. But you
my
know,
ultimate goal is to annoy everyone with my voice to make it inescapable no matter where they go. I'm like, okay, so how'd you start in horror? Tell me about that. What's your horror origin?
yeah, isn't that all of our goals though? Like in the podcasting space, is just be inescapable, to be ever present in everyone's lives.
We're
There is
just
no escaping it.
shameless horror hucksters. Oh, you know what? And I should mention, because Joe Velasquez is going to kill me, I'm also co-host of the Fear on Film podcast. I should probably mention that as well.
It might be good to throw in there, it wouldn't hurt. Certainly, I wouldn't think. But no, you're definitely one of my go-to voices in the horror
Oh,
fiction
thank you.
space.
We're right back
Um,
at you.
yeah, I really I've been kind of interviewing a lot of the people that I know really well in the podcasting space. Like Agatha from She Wore Black, Trevor Williamson of Slay House, Stephanie Books in the Freezer. I'm got George lined up, even though he's got off again, on again on the podcasting space. He's very
I'm
humble
going to get
about.
Trevor and George as well. Those are two that I haven't gotten yet. So you've
Yeah.
been warned, boys. I'm coming.
Yeah, no, that you should, because they were wonderful, wonderful people to talk to, and I want everybody to be able to talk to them. But it's been really interesting, kind of getting. It's a little bit of a catch up because I've been talking to everybody, obviously, and like kind of have had them on the show or been on their show in one way, shape, or form in the past. But I feel like this little project that I'm doing, it was actually suggested by one of my folks on the Discord for my Patreon, they were like, I would love to see some behind the scenes stuff, like with
Yeah.
podcasting or like with publishers and all that good stuff. So I was like, well, the podcaster thing is super easy to accomplish. Like we can make that happen.
Yeah.
But it's been really cool to catch up with everybody. We're like midway through 2026 almost. Like and it's nice to kind of check in and take the pulse and see how everybody's doing. So that's my roundabout way of asking, how's it going in the podcasting space? How are you feeling about podcasting these days?
I actually feel really great about it. Like you, we take a temperature check of our friends and our colleagues, and we all follow each other. And I think we all also influence each other,
Oh
not
yeah.
steal. Like, maybe it's like film, like, no, it's an homage when I, also crib your guests. But we share all these great concepts and ideas and guests and practices. And I know it's such a cliche, but it's like that rising tide lifts all boats.
Oh, me and Trevor just talked about that exact saying yesterday.
Right? Especially George makes me furious, by the way. And George, I know you're listening, and I'll tell you exactly why you make me furious. And so do you, because you have the benefit of this beautiful thing called youth on your side, and you're so dynamic. And look, this is a perception, and I know you're going to correct me, and I know that it's a ton of hard work, but you and Scotty and Trevor and George and Agatha and Stephanie, and I know I'm leaving off tons of people that we follow. You all make it look so effortless, and I know it's not, but it comes off that way. And it, for me, kind of like, and I'll call it out, kind of being the senior dog in this kennel. Like I'm the dog in the adoption kennel that's like, choose me, please, please pick me. But your game is so sharp and so dynamic and fresh that it really does make me sharpen my skills, or at least try to. So I appreciate it. You keep me on my heels, but in a good way.
The thing about all of it though is like I've learned so much from everybody that I've listened to in before I started doing this. Like there was so much that I learned about interviewing and about kind of for like a little bit of the professionalism side about like how to format things and like how to approach literature, Like I've always been a bit of a reader and obviously since like being in the horror sphere and doing reviews that obviously was enhanced, but to talk about a book in the ways that we do is a little bit different because you're diving so deep with the people who made it. And it's always kind of tricky because it can be very, very personal. And you don't want to make assumptions about people's
Oh,
lives. So it's kind of
boy,
towing
have
the
I.
line of like,
Yeah.
this is my experience. How did you feel about this kind of thing? And I'm kind of interested how you have honed your interviewing craft, like how you approach it.
Yeah, it's always a challenge because your interpretation could be galaxies off of what the author intended. I'll give you a real time, and this happened less than a week ago. We're gonna shamelessly name drop, and I always pretend like, oh, I'm name dropping. Oh, it's how embarrassing. I love it. I'm the ham and the cheese in this sandwich, so I absolutely love it. But I was talking with Cynthia Paleo about It Came from Neverland, and I had this, and here I am. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna razzle dazzle with my insight. And I brought up like this kind of toxic masculinity, like cult figure draw of Peter Pan in the novel, and equating it to like the Andrew Tates and those kind of influencers that are all no bueno whatsoever. And Cynthia was so, and I could see in her eyes that she was like, you, you this pitch is going so wild that it's ending up in the grandstand. But she was, if you've ever had this happen to you,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the authors are always so appreciative that at least you're having a discussion about their work, that I've never encountered one, no matter how far off I am in my interpretation, that's called me out and been like, no, that wasn't it at all. And then you shrink in real time. She was just like, I could see that. And then she explained exactly what she was going for in
Yeah.
Peter Pan.
Yeah.
But you take wild swings. Sometimes most of the time, because you've done your homework and the hard yards, you're pretty close to the vibe of the book and what the author was trying to express, and you have those kind of conversations and you lock in and they feel so good. And even when you don't, even if it's a bit of a bumpy ride, you're still putting an incredible novel into people's ears who are listening, and then hopefully in their hands, and then their little eyeballs. And that engages curiosity and
Yeah.
intellect. So it's just like that first domino that ticks over. So even if you're wildly missing the mark, it eventually lands in some way, and it hopefully ends up in a book in someone's hands.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a few things about that that I want to hit upon, and like, I think that we all are kind of appreciative and understanding of the fact that like once a book is out in the world, like it is kind of everybody's to interpret and take what they can from it. But obviously, since we're in the interview business and we are talking to the authors, we're asking for clarification on those things. And like I really prefer the conversational format, which I think we all do,
Yeah,
because it's less of a pointed yes, no, maybe kind of line of questioning, and it's more of a discussion, which is always much more entertaining to listen to than just straight yes and no questions.
couldn't agree more.
Um, but the thing is that in order to learn and to grow, which is, I think why we all really enjoy reading, you have to be wrong. Like learning is being wrong. Like you can't win all the time.
I should be 14 feet tall if
Yeah.
that's growth.
I mean, I've had the same thing and I can't remember exactly when it was or what it was, but I'll be like, what was that about? And it's something that completely like went over my head. And I'm like, I just whatever. And they said, I'm like, oh yeah, but it's one of those things like I think that that's part of the fun of it too, and learning from the people who create this, where they're coming from versus where I'm at. It's two very different sides of the table, but to meet in the middle is really cool.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I mean, people are going to roll their eyes at this analogy, but it's like the rodeo, the bucking
Yeah.
bronco. The gate opens up and you hope to hold on for 8 seconds till you hear the bell with that conversation. And sometimes like you feel yourself getting bucked off because you're like, oh no, I'm biffing this so badly. But even then, the conversation that eventually comes about through that, whether you're hitting the mark or not, is
Yeah.
always so much fun
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because that's what it is. I mean, it's every single one of the horror literature podcasts that at least I listen to, and I'm fairly certain that we're listening to the same stuff. They're all conversational, and the price of admission for each and every one of them is, hey, let's have a good time.
Yeah.
Let's explore your work. Let's have a good time. Let's find out a little bit more about you as an author if you're willing to go there. Let's find out a little bit more about your process and your inspirations and what you're doing now and what you're doing next. And I find that stuff just eminently fascinating, you know?
Yeah, it's the journey, not the destination, kind of, in getting the enjoying the process of getting there than the actual end point.
And don't you always learn something, no matter who
Oh
the
yeah.
guest is, and no matter how well you think you know? Clay McLeod Chapman, you and I have spoken to Clay. He's probably waiting in my closet. We've spoken to him 4,000 times apiece, and every single time that I talk to Clay, I learn something great and always entertaining
Right.
about him that's new. And that's the joy of what we do.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. But I do want to go ahead and kind of ask you about your history with podcasting because I feel like I'm roughly familiar with your trajectory and what you've been up to in the podcasting space over the course of your career, but I want to hear like the formal answer. Like when did you start with all of this? And it's my turn to ask you, what's your relationship with horror and all this other good shit?
How great would it be if I didn't have an answer? I was like, I've never thought of that. I don't
Yeah.
know. Can I phone a friend? All right, it's such a cliche. During COVID,
Yeah.
along with 12 billion other people who were listening to anything that we could put in our ears or watch, I was like, you know what? I really love horror, and I think I could make a go of this. And this is a quick, funny story. I've never tell a quick story, so that's a lie. But here's a funny story. So I reached out to an acquaintance of mine who I knew who loved horror, Shannon Bushman Montalbano. And I said, Shannon, like, do you want to give it a go?
Mhm.
She said, why not? You know what? Fortune favors the bold. Let's have some fun. And we got together and we created the Sinful Cuts podcast. And so here's the funny part of the story. We spelled it the worst way imaginable, CIN-FPHILE. No one could find this podcast. You can't spell it. I couldn't even spell it right now. It was impossible to find. And we put so much heart and soul and we recorded and this anyone who wants to start a podcast and is listening, this is a mistake. So take notes. We recorded I think 100 episodes in a year.
Holy moly, yeah.
We couldn't record fast enough, quick enough. The content, we had so much fun, but the content wasn't great because we weren't taking our time to kind of learn what we should and grow and develop just like we had talked about. We were just like, let's it was quantity, not quality, and it was all for nothing because no one can find us. Now here's, then the epilogue to the story is we called it quits to the podcast. Shannon and I are still very much friends, and she called me up and she says, "Hey, look, I'm going to start doing an Instagram recording. Can I keep the name?" And I said, "Absolutely. It's all yours." She immediately spells it sinful, SIN, so people can find it. I call her back. I'm like, "You son of a bitch. It was only when we were partners that we had this abysmal spelling. Now it's your own thing, and people can find it left, right, and center." But she doing great, and I love her reviews. But it's kind of a trial by fire,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was specifically just kind of like retro film, mostly 80s stuff, and
Hmm.
it was a blast. That led me to Matt Orozco, who is the owner and the editor in chief of MacabreDaily.com. We had Matt on as a guest in Lowell Greenblatt, and I hit it off with the two of those goofs and vice versa. And I just, I asked Matt flat out. I said, "Hey, man, you looking for contributors? Because I think I might be able to do that. I'm close to getting my MFA, and I was an English teacher, formerly an English teacher." So he said, "All right, you know what? We'll try you out, kid." And that was, oh gosh, I mean, I think coming up on 3 years this August, and it's just been phenomenal. And then I asked Matt, I said, "Look, I love Bloody Disgusting, I love Fangoria and Rue Morgue, and there's a billion other really great horror sites that do fantastic work and keep people in tune with what the horror community is doing, but it's mostly film.
Yeah.
How about giving me a shot at a dedicated horror literature column?" And he was like, "Tempt me with a good time. It's all yours." And that's 18 months ago. And this damn thing is just caught on like wildfire. We now have Brian Finnerty, who is doing not only contributing to the Paper Cuts column, but he's got Skeletons in the Closet, which dives into queer horror, and
Hmm.
he's got Scared Sane, which is examines that beautiful juxtaposition between psychology and horror. Then we have Michelle Delgado just came on board a couple months ago, and her writing is so good that I'm fairly certain I'm going to get fired. So, you know, this is good times. This good. So
Yeah.
again, let me land the plane. Coming all the way back, I told you this was going to happen. Coming all the way back to your original question, how do I feel about the podcasting landscape? I think that all of you are doing the best work you've ever done. And I look forward to all of your episodes like it's my birthday because of the guests that you have. That's a that's a part of it, but it's how you do what you do. And you always make me feel like I'm sitting on the couch with a warm cup of tea or a really nice ice cold gin and tonic, and I just snuggle in. And it's some of these recordings are the happiest 45 minutes to an hour of my week at work. My family is listening too. I love you, family, and my time with you is fantastic. I'm just talking about my big boy job,
Yeah.
which can be a grind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's so I want to touch back on a few things that you've said. I feel like the landscape is so big right now, but like I don't ever yeah, we do have the same guests and stuff, but I really don't feel like it's duplicative. Like I
No.
don't feel like we've run into that, which has been really interesting that it's played out this way. You know what I mean? Because it's very easy that it could have, and I just don't see it being that way.
Okay, here's the trifecta. Are you ready for it? And you're going to roll your eyes at me, and I'm ready for it. Here's the trifecta. You've got you, Stephanie, and Agatha are really like, you're kind of my go-to. And n even though you talk to the same people, none of the vibe is the same. The vibe is all like just 10 out of 10, no notes, fantastic, but also different. You could all have on Rachel Harrison in the same week,
Oh
and
yeah.
every single one of those episodes is remarkably different, even though you have the same guest, insightful in different ways and different levels. So yeah, to your point, we do all have the same guests on because, you know, Pub Date is June
Yeah,
2nd,
yeah, exactly.
and we're all going to reach out to the publicist, and those wonderful people are going to be more than happy for the most part to set us up with a great interview. But some of my favorite listens are when it's back to back to back the same person. Then you get like Trevor and Scotty, and Rob Olson. And those are different interviews, even if it's the same person. So yeah, everybody has carved out this really unique niche of what they do and how they do it. And even though the book might be the same, the author might be the same, the concept might be the same of horror, it's also remarkably different. It's so unbelievably entertaining. So I really do feel like, we're at an all-time high and we have nowhere to go but down. No, I'm just kidding.
Incredible. No, I totally agree with us very much leaning into our like very specific interests or like voices. And that's been a really cool thing to kind of experience and see because like, I only started doing this super seriously, like pushing out on a podcasting platform last year at the beginning of 2025. And the fear for me was like, I don't want to rip anybody off. Like I don't want to be, taking anybody's, show their whatever. And certainly not that I felt like I was doing it to the same degree that all these other people were doing, but even intentionally, when you're doing a somewhat similar format to other people, but the voice is super unique. And I mean, it's the same reason that I think that we can read a vampire novel from 10 different authors and get their version on a vampire and we still
Yeah,
enjoy it. It's
absolutely.
it's leaning into
Absolutely.
that individuality.
All right. I'm gonna ask you a question now.
Okay, all
Haha,
right.
turning the tables. Okay. So I think that podcasting, horror literature podcasting in particular, is really, you know, the past couple of years it was kind of like the training wheels. Then the training wheels came off and everybody kind of found their groove. And now we're all at like 30,000 feet and there's no turbulence and we're just sailing.
Yeah.
And just narcissistically including me in this, but there is no evidence to support this.
No, I think it's fair.
But everyone's cruising. I feel like we're at this interesting moment, especially you. Oh, I hate to put pressure on you, but especially you, that I feel like there's going to be a transition coming. I don't
Yeah.
know what that looks like, but because everybody in this horror podcasting world knows what they're doing and is doing it so well, I don't know. I'm getting really, really excited to see where it goes next. And I think it might be a visual medium, to be
Hmm.
honest with you.
Yeah.
I hate to put pressure on you, but I'm going to. I called you the future of horror. There, that's one time I said it.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I've called you the future of horror many times now, and I know we joke about it, and I'll DM you and be like, "What's going on, future of horror?" But I really do feel that you have this incredible gift. And I also feel like you are part of this incredible community. And I'd kind of love to see the female driven side of that, you,
yeah.
the Stephanie, come together and build something uniquely your own and have me as a guest.
Yeah.
You know? But I mean it. And again, no pressure. I'm just putting it out into the ether that I get very excited seeing the incredible talent on display of what you women in horror are doing. And I feel like, and there are men out there doing great things. I mean, come on, Neil McRobert, jeez, come on,
Yeah.
I can't hate
Yeah.
this guy, you know? But I get very excited to see the path that you've created. And I think that, you're kind of like a beacon to especially women, young women in particular who want to dip a toe into the horror podcasting world. I think you're a great example for it. And I want to commend you for that. You, Stephanie, Agatha. And again, I'm leaving out scores of podcasters, but that trifecta right there excites me.
Well, very kind of you to say, and I'm gonna do my very best to accept that compliment without being
It's hard,
too,
right?
yeah, 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 without too much, downplaying. But anyway, I definitely couldn't be doing what I'm doing had it not been for them because I listened to them for forever before I ever picked this up. Like I learned a lot from them, and how to do or figuring out what I wanted to do and doing it the way that I'm doing it. It definitely came from them. But you bring up a good point, and it's something that I wanted to ask you about because you just hosted a kind of women's focus, women's voice event, correct, in New York, right?
I
So
sure did. It
I wanted
was
to ask about that whole operation, organizing that, and how it went, and just all about it, honestly.
this is I wish that I was a smarter man because I'd take a dramatic pause and I'd build up the suspense and I'd give the um, perception that it was so challenging and difficult and hard. It wasn't at all.
Yeah.
Rebecca Baum, who wrote The Brood and
Yeah.
is one of the most exciting, dynamic horror authors out there, also happens to be one of the best people walking the planet. She reached out to me because, look, you'll agree with me. We talk to people and sometimes we hit it off and we become friends. You
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
it's it's a fringe benefit to what we do, and it's great when that happens. Rebecca became a friend. She said, "Look, how would you feel about putting together an author event?" And yeah, I didn't hesitate because I knew if I did, I wouldn't do it because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could be lazy. I said, yeah, let's do it. We went to the city. She had already found this great space at Von Bar on Bleecker. Shout out to Von Bar. They carved out a an event space in their basement that is like a speakeasy with a
Oh,
beautiful
nice. Very
bar
cool.
and a recessed stage for the authors. We didn't know what it was going to look like to get the authors down there, but we had a feeling that it was going to be lightning in a bottle, and it was. It's incredibly intimate. Space holds about 50, maybe cram 70 people in there. We were at max capacity. Rebecca had the fantastic idea to make it female centric, and so we created what we're calling the horror salon, the
Yeah.
salon of horror. And then Rebecca said, "Could we name it the this event the uh feminine horrifique?" And I said, "Absolutely. Let's do this. Come on, let's do this." There are so many dynamic female authors out there, not just in horror, just in general, but in horror, it's like, I mean, swing a cat. And you are absolutely, please don't swing a cat. We support animal love here on this podcast. But there are so many diverse voices. There are so many voices that were not represented when I was a kid reading. I mean,
Yeah.
it was all what I'm looking at in the screen right now, a middle-aged white man. The fact that we can have so much representation. I mean, it's like Baskin Robbins. It's 31 flavors. No matter what your kick is, it's there for you. And not
Hmm.
only is it there for you, but there's no point of diminishing returns. It's incredible writing and unbelievably thrilling individuals who are doing it.
Yeah.
So we got four of them. Rebecca Baum did a reading. Meg Ripley, who has Wood Feast coming out and wrote Necrology. Sarah Hinckley, who's got the Red Sacrament, which is
Yeah.
this like
I've
grand.
got that one coming up that I need to read.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sarah's a rock star. Also, like a little intimidating. And Sarah, I hope you're listening because she's one of those, just one of those people you see walking around Manhattan with a leather jacket on, and you're just like, oh my God, you're too cool. You're too cool. I think I need to cross the street. You know, she just got all the vibe.
Yeah.
And then Kaylee Peterson, who has the Minimalist coming
Yeah.
out,
I'm reading
who
that right
wrote,
now.
oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. It will give you all of the feelings, and then at the end, Kaylee just like suplexes all of your emotions, and you're like, "Oh, okay." As you're crawling onto the couch.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Get this. So we have the event. It's 2 hours long. Everybody had a great time. It was packed house. It was so intimate, and the authors brought their A game as they always do, and you were hanging on every word. And Kaylee Peterson bats cleanup and does this incredible reading, not only from Sacrificial Animals, but also from The Minimalist. Gets everybody just ravenous for both these books, as all of the authors did. Then she ends it with a 5-minute aria. She's an
Yeah.
amateur opera singer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy, huh?
I didn't know I was going to cry that night, but I did. It was. So here's the thing. Here's the thing, Hannah. If you're thinking of doing it, do it.
Yeah.
It was it was as easy as booking the space, Okay, you go there, they show you the space, you pay the money, and they're like, it's all yours. Don't wreck the bathroom. You're like, can do. Done. You reach out to authors, 5 billion at this point. They adore you. So here, the one thing that I would do going forward, and we're going to do it again in July. The theme, I'm not going to give anything away. I'm just going to give a little teaser. The theme is going to be the dog days of summer because we're going to do it mid-July, end of July.
Yeah.
We're going to do three authors. The reason being, um, people were really into the interview that we did
Hmm.
between, you know, you get authors talking about themselves. It's inherently interesting. They're
Yes.
funny as hell. And we felt like, okay, maybe we trim it down a little bit and expand that personal space.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was fantastic. It's waiting for you. You put Anna Dupree on a marquee above anything, people are going.
Well, I do have my first in-person event. Well, technically two of them. I'm going to be doing my first like in-person panel at Stoker, and then I'll be
Oh, I'll be there.
doing for Librarians Day. There's going to be a lot of good chatter on that one. And then I'll be doing an event with CJ Lead in Missouri. So once those are done and I see how that goes, we'll start talking about event planning. But no, I was really thrilled to see that you were putting that together because I feel like people are hungry for that. People want that kind of feminine focus, that feminine lens, that, and like the space to kind of
Yep.
celebrate that and feature it in that way. I think that, there's a lot of people that are really excited to do that. So I was glad to see that it was happening. I was bummed that I wasn't closer to me, so I couldn't make it,
I
but,
know.
thrilled to see it happen all the same.
People want to go out and have an experience happen in real time that they can't necessarily get on their phone
Yeah.
or on the TV. And hey, look, everyone, don't send your hate mail to Anna, not me. I'm one of those people as well with the phone attached to my retina,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
me too.
watch way too much TV and watch way too much movies. No regrets. But to have something like it's going to be so cheesy, but it's almost like to have something that's like one of those happenings from like back in the 60s or 70s where it's never going to be duplicated again. You have
Yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah.
there. It's exciting, you know?
Yeah, there's
People
an
want it.
intangible quality to that everybody's forever chasing on social media. That's fine. There's influencers who go to these like events that try and like curate this thing, but it's very the nexus of an event like that is very much not based in I don't know, like you kind of can't orchestrate it in a way. Like sometimes it just happens,
Gotta
like there's
happen.
certain things that you can do to ensure that it, but that's the magic of it, right? Is it's just a once in a lifetime
Well,
kind of thing.
how many author readings have you been to where and you've seen the same author, a number of times, and each one is different and each one is a little special in its own way, and you always walk away elated. You're walking on air after an author reading, and maybe you got your book signed, maybe you were lucky enough to have like a little chat with your favorite author, but you will always walk away with something different, and it's special.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I also want to ask you about this too, because you brought up something earlier in an earlier answer, but it's something that I want to talk to you about. You did podcasting in the film space, and then, you wanted to, whenever you got on with Macabre Daily, you said that you wanted to kind of pivot into this horror fiction space because a lot of the podcasting and media coverage that we do see in horror is film. And I think it's a great thing. I'm not complaining that there is that coverage. It's just, I feel like there is a growing interest for more of the horror fiction than just the horror film, and that's, like kind of where we're coming into play and maybe fulfilling that need. But I'm curious about your experience with the two and like if you've noticed any big differences or if it's been a very similar experience, like kind of just podcasting on both of those.
This is going to be like a bit of a bummer answer, but since getting involved in the horror literature space through Macabre Daily and Paper Cuts 18 months ago, I really haven't seen a shift, unfortunately,
Yeah.
and I am well dialed in,
Hmm.
well dialed in. All of the sites do remarkable work. They do such great work with film
Yeah.
and with critique, and look, it needs to be done. And I love that they're giving space to actors and directors and producers and screenwriters. It's all good. But I have not seen the horror literature space on online sites grow. And I'm not, again, send your hate mail to Anna, not me. I'm not saying it isn't there. I just
Yeah.
haven't seen it grow. Again, hey, look, maybe I'm impatient and people probably, picking up on that with the cadence of my voice and how fast I talk. I do I do need to slow my roll and give it maybe a little bit more time to breathe. Um, I have started to see more sites uh, dedicate articles to specific authors and maybe specific books, but I have not seen them grow columns. And I'd
Yeah.
really love to see that, even though it would be in direct competition with me. I don't care.
Yeah.
I want more books in more people's hands because of the fact that and again, forgive me. Oh my gosh, forgive me, Anna. I apologize, but we live in a time right now. I'm going to make it political for a hot second. We
Oh
live
yeah,
in a
no.
time right now where books are trying to be ripped from people's hands, and I'm there with my stupid little small body and my dumb voice trying to put those books back in people's hands, and I'm putting it out there to everyone. I could use the help.
Yeah, no,
So
absolutely. I feel the same way.
sites out there and podcasters, if you're in the film space, maybe look toward horror literature because it's like getting your chocolate and your peanut butter. I trust me, it's delicious. Start investigating that aspect of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna kind of, you know, give some flowers to Stephanie with Books in the Freezer because I'm going to be honest, and this could be my limited reading and viewing and listening, but I feel like with doing the books recommendation format that she does with Books in the Freezer, given that she does read along, like the read alikes, if you read this, you'll also like these books and also these films, it
Great.
marries the two so well. And I just don't see that same kind of reach happening elsewhere. And like, I kind of was hoping, like at this time last year that maybe we would have more bleed from the film criticism and podcasting space into the horror literature, like kind of a crossover, but it just hasn't happened yet. And that's something that's like really interesting to me because I feel like it's a lot of the same themes. Things are happening, like there's very timely themes in horror that we're seeing right now. It's happening both in the movies and in fiction. So I don't see why it couldn't happen. I'm just a little curious that it hasn't.
Well, this kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about I think that we could be approaching a transitional point to horror literature podcasting that it could possibly go to a visual medium,
Yeah.
which would, to your point, I think when you incorporate different forms of media, it excites people
Oh
and it
yeah.
gets that beautiful imagination clicking. So I think that that's the next logical step of someone like yourself and George and Agatha and Stephanie getting together and saying, what does this look like? And creating maybe a YouTube show,
Hmm.
something along those lines where you have multiple contributors and someone talks about film, but also ties it into literature. And then, I don't know, maybe someone ties that into plays
Yeah.
and what Shakespeare was doing, and now we're going to get Paranormal Activity that Alison Broder was just talking about on the Who's There podcast. I was bugging her because she saw the play and she's like, "You got to go see it." You know what I'm talking? Like all of a sudden, the synapses start to click, and you're like, "Oh, the only thing holding us back is the fact that no one has done it, so we have to create the blueprint."
Yeah.
Which is a challenge. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
you
Well, I
know,
mean, I've been tempted to be like, well, I need to watch more film and then like maybe reach out to film podcasters and like, do create the crossover myself. But the the issue is there's only 24 hours in a day.
yeah.
And so the time that it would take for me, I feel like to become I don't want to say well versed enough, but familiar enough to be like comfortable with the material that we would be discussing. Like there, it is shorter certainly to watch a series of films than it is to read a series of books. So unfortunately, it's the age-old issue of the time crux of how
Yeah.
many hours do you have in a day to
Look,
spend upon this thing.
you know I'm nuts about you and what you do, but you can only do so much,
Yeah.
and you do it so well. But yeah, and again, I hate using this word. It's so salesy, which is what I do. Your bandwidth
Yeah.
only goes so far. That's why my thought is that it truly does take a village. Like you get together with like-minded people, and you create what that space looks like, so that your portion is work.
Yeah.
It's important. It supports that work-life balance because burnout's a real thing.
Oh yeah.
You and I know this full well. I'm looking at my orc pile right now, and I have to have my orc pile visual in front of me in my studio space because I put it into monthly columns, and once I see those books get to a certain height, I got that's it for that
Yeah.
month. Sorry, I'll see you next. I know you're going to be writing another book, and I get you then. And
Yeah.
then I make a note of it, like okay, I have to get this author down the road. But burnout is probably the most challenging aspect of what we do. That's why, having a collective experience and creating something along those lines that can pull in from all different forms of media. That's exciting. That's
Yeah.
exciting. And I'm hoping that someone who's a lot younger and has a lot more energy definitely creates that because I think it's the next logical step. And it'll be janky. It will
Yeah.
be because it'll be new. But just like I said, that horror podcasters are at 30,000 feet, no turbulence, and just cruising, it'll eventually get to that space as well. It's going to be really, really exciting if someone creates that kind of blueprint.
Yeah, well, you've kind of stolen one of my questions from me with your infinite wisdom on this, but like
Oh,
asking
please.
about what you see podcasting looking like in the state of, that very much answers that question. But I do kind of want to ask about, presently how the podcasting is going and like, what you've been reading, like looking at the horror genre. Like what have you kind of seen this year in terms of like if there's been any trends or like any like favorite things? Like is there anything that you've taken note? Because again, we're coming up on we're recording this in May. So this is close to the halfway point. We're recording this right before Stoker. So it's always interesting to me. Stoker is always the midway point for me to gauge like what first half of the year horror is and second half of the horror, is. So I'm kind of curious if what you've noticed about the genre this year so far.
Can I give you? Okay, I'm gonna give you two answers: one literature, one film.
Yep.
Because I still review film from Macabre Daily.
Yeah.
Literature, and this is actually going to happen at Stoker. I know that you probably got the email as well for the pitch session, and people are looking for queer horror,
Hmm.
which again, this calls back to everything I was talking about how back in the 80s it was middle-aged white guys and it was one thing and it produced fantastic horror that we call back to all the time. But these days, oh, how great is it that it's queer horror. It's female-driven narratives. It's Eat the Rich. Those
Yeah.
three themes are so prevalent in horror right now. We want to see rich people, billionaires, getting mercilessly murked. We want to see female voices getting their due, and they have been for years now. So much so that my concern is that look, this is just organic. It's going to happen
Hmm.
that the landscape will shift, but I hope it shifts in inclusion to something new that includes female voices, that
Yeah.
includes queer horror, and I think it's so woven into the fabric of what horror literature is that I don't worry that we're going to lose that representation. I actually think that it is approaching the norm now, and
Hmm.
I get very excited about that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I don't want to look through the rear view and see anybody left behind,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm seeing in horror literature. Selfishly, what would I like to see? I want more cryptid love with all those voices that I just talked about, queer horror, female-driven narratives, which, by the way, Carter Keene, I'm giving you a shout out. Morsel, kind of
Oh yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I just missed that one. That one slipped through the cracks for me. I gotta read that one.
It's a rip. You get
Yeah.
to page 40 and something happens and it just puts you on your ass, and then the next 180 pages go by in an afternoon and you're like, Carter Keene, you son of a bitch, you got me. By the way, people who listen to me now know that if I am absolutely head over heels for an author and their work, I will get mad at them. I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
why. I yell at them. What are you doing to me? I'm so mad at you for entertaining me and giving me a good time.
Yeah. God forbid you do your job correctly.
Right?
Very well.
Going to give you a quick aside on film.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing in film is it's like it couldn't be more exciting right now. You've got Curry Barker's Obsession. You've
Hmm.
got Zach Kreger's Weapons. You've got The Back Rooms. You've got this beautiful sketch comedy and YouTube driven
Yeah.
um uh uh like class of 2005, 2006 that's emerging, that because they have kind of like fast, cheap, and out of control, it harkens back to 1992 when Tarantino released Reservoir Dogs, and all of a sudden there was this slate of crime movies, and they were exciting. I'm not saying all of them were good, but they were sexy and exciting and kinetic. And then, of course, like everything, that vein dried out, that vein of gold dried out after a decade. We're right at the emergence of this new class of horror film and narrative and experimentation, and you take that along with what's happening in horror literature that has been so just thunderous and beautiful the past couple of years, and there's no end in sight. Every single author I talk to, I'm like, do you see an end in sight? And because I'm waiting for them to reassure me that they don't.
Yeah.
We're at this moment in horror in general that is landing for normies,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak.
No, no,
That
that's true. Yeah.
for the last time, and I mean that with all the love in my heart,
Oh, yeah.
normies, we love you, and then the there's no door to this tent. The flap is always open. Come on in. We're weird as hell, but we're welcoming as hell, as well, which is the beauty of horror. That there's no velvet rope, but there's just moment now where mainstream media, as fallible as they are with certain narratives,
Yeah.
they're starting to say the H word. They're actually starting to call horror horror,
Hmm.
which, I will thank, I'll definitely thank Ryan Coogler and Sinners and Zach Cregger's for Weapons, and
Yeah.
a abundance of phenomenal fiction and films from last year that literally just pushed it over that barrier and put the word horror in media's mouth. And to see that happen, I don't know if it's going to last, but to see it happen is like I didn't know that I would live long enough to have this moment.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
I'm gonna say this now, and this is mostly just for me to go on the record and say it in the event that it happens, so I can say I'm right very selfishly.
Isn't
But
that the
I
best?
think that there has been a shift in that with a little bit more of the public acceptance of that, especially like even the I really really love the Netflix series that came out a little bit earlier this year. Something very bad's gonna happen, or something bad is gonna happen. There was a lot of people talking about that I never expected to see talking about a show like that, and that was like very hardcore horror, like in
Did you
so many
watch
ways.
Brand New Cherry Flavor? That creator's previous?
No, I haven't seen any. Yeah,
Oh, Anna, it's waiting for you. You got to
yeah.
check that out. Yeah.
There's so much that I need to see. Like I still need. Everybody's talking about Widow's Bay right now. I need to get caught up on Widow's Bay. Everybody's obsessed with that. I need to, get caught up on that. There's so much going on that we're trending in this way, and then I think I'm gonna say it now. I think the cherry on top that might really send this thing into the stratosphere for a really long time is gonna be the X-Files reboot that Coogler's got. I think.
Amen, sister.
I mean,
Absolutely.
the guest casting already that's came out. I mean, he got Amy Madigan on. I mean, and people are crazy for her right now, and rightfully so because of Weapons. I think the X-Files, and I mean, was not there initially when it started, but I caught, the tail
Thanks for
end of,
making me feel a
yeah,
million years
yeah.
old because
I
I
felt
watched
bad
it
as
in
soon
real
as I
time.
started saying it. But the effect that is a very horrific show, and it was on cable. It was like it was a norm, and I think if we can get back, we don't have that right now. We don't have a Fringe. We don't have a weird science show that's been in this way. I feel like that takes up the cultural conversation and pop culture like the X-Files did. And I think if we can thread that needle one last time, it might be the big push to really, really popularize and get horror on board the way that we all really want it to be.
You know how mountain climbers, this is like the funny, this just it's always one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life, and I attribute it to Charles Schultz and the Peanuts.
Yeah.
You know how mountain climbers are tethered together,
Yeah.
so if someone falls, you can catch them and pull them up. I think it's like Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown. They asked Charlie Brown, why do we rope ourselves together when we're mountain climbing? And he goes, so that if one of us falls, we all fall.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. You bring up a fantastic point that Studios are willing to take a chance.
Hmm.
I hated to put it in these disgusting terms, and forgive me, everybody, but it's the truth of it. Like, we can't hide the fact that all these things are driven by money. So studios are willing to dedicate a certain budget to Ryan Coogler for the X-Files
Yep.
coming off the back of Sinners. That's great. The X-Files lands, let's say that it is phenomenally successful, which I expect it to be. Now you've kind of got Widow's Bay, which is all over everyone's algorithm on
Yeah.
social media and is, like, and this is where I'll just go right over the falls into Nerdville. In Harry Potter, when Dumbledore would take his wand and pluck a memory out of
Yeah.
Harry's head, and it was that gossamer thread. That is what Widow's Bay is for you. You don't even know it yet because you haven't seen it, but you're gonna watch it and you're gonna be like, it's like someone made my dream journal
Yeah.
a show.
That's basically what everybody's been saying. And it's so weird to have a consensus like that that everybody's sharing in that same exact sentiment.
It is it's only 3 episodes in. It just is the best thing that you need in your life, and it's so well done that it seems effortless, which
Yeah.
is couldn't be further from the truth. But my point is, if we can keep the air in the hot air balloon long enough to rise with these shows and movies, I do, I do in my heart believe that there's a possibility that it could reach down like that rope when
Yeah.
we're mountain climbing and pull everyone else up in horror literature because that's where they mine. Look,
Well, I was gonna say, how many adaptations have we seen of, everything else? I mean, and we've gotten a lot of horror adaptations already too, don't get me wrong, but they're gonna look for the source material, right? Like they're gonna.
and it makes me crazy. That's the dirty little secret that everybody needs to know about is that these studios, they mine the literature world for property, and not
Yeah.
always, but too many times what happens is they make something incredibly dynamic and challenging and beautiful, and they don't give the author credit, you
Yep.
know? And
Yep.
look, Paul Tremblay
I was about to say that's the first one that comes to my mind.
perfect example. And I know Philip Fricassi's got stories, and Clay hopefully won't have stories, but he's in the middle of his adaptation. So, like, people get left in that rear view that I was talking about, and it crushes me, it shatters me. So I'm hoping that if we can keep this moment alive and keep that lighthouse, light spinning, that no ships crash on shore, and it can pull up all of horror, and maybe, just maybe, it can help with that podcasting space into something, whatever it's going to evolve into next. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you, but no, it's an exciting time to be in horror, and it feels good too to have been here for like 2 or 3 years, and to kind of have the pulse of things and know what it has to offer, and like to kind of see on the horizon like what is possible, and it's what makes it exciting, at least, or at least it feels that way. Of course it'll make it that much more disappointing if it doesn't happen, but we're not going to talk about that part.
We're not going to talk about that, and I'm gonna, how you just had your call out, and you're like, if this comes true, I'm going to take all the credit in the world for it. I'm going to make my prediction too. All this stuff that we're talking about, what it's going to transition to next, you're going to be a big part of it, and I'm telling you right now, you're
Okay.
going to be at the forefront of it. And you're going to be a big part of it, and I'm so excited to see it, and I'm calling it right now. And when it happens, I'm going to harken back to this episode and say, I have never done smart things in my life, but I had one moment on Anna Rose Reads where I called it. And this is it right here.
Oh, Sean, too much, too much.
Look, we got to put it out into the ether, and it's going to come back tenfold. I'm telling you.
Good point. Good point. Well, no, that's very generous of you to say, but no, I'm hopeful for all of us that we all find whatever it is. Like you said, that it feels like we've all kind of been not, I don't want to say cruising, but reached a comfortability with what
Well,
we've been doing.
no one
Um,
closes doors or shuts
yeah.
windows. Everyone is collaborative, and everyone is cool as hell, and a heart as big as the moon, you know?
Yeah, 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 exactly. So I'm excited to see whatever happens next. But yeah, I'm really thrilled, and I want to ask you, what does the rest of your 2026 look like? Like, I know you're going to Stoker, and I know you're obviously still doing the podcast, but like, what else are you allowed? What else can we plug and promote for you for the rest of the year?
Too much. I'm so, my problem is, you know how they say always say yes?
Yeah.
You know, and that's how things happen. So I do. I always say yes. And for the most part, it's fantastic. But this old jalopy of a body and mind, I mean, it is, I have to have my bran muffins daily and I have to, drink my green juice to keep the stamina up because I'm starting a collection of short stories. Yeah. Yeah, I got it was, the kid looking through the window, seeing everybody have so much fun writing.
Yeah.
It was too
Yeah.
much. And I
I
and
get
then
it.
when Neil wrote Good Boy,
Yeah.
that was where I was like, I mean, Neil is friggin' genius. I mean, that brain of his is beautiful
Yeah.
and he's so talented. Um, but he was kind of like the catalyst of like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna throw my hat into the ring. I don't know what it's gonna look like,
Yeah.
but I want to write. So I'm starting
Absolutely.
that.
Hell yeah. I'm that is fabulous news. I'm really excited for that. Yeah, I feel like the writing itch has been going around a good bit
Right?
lately. It's hard to, after you do this for so long to not kind of want to play in that sandbox and see how it goes, you know. You hear
We
enough advice about it.
And we tune out the stories that we hear from authors where they're like, oh, it's so impossible and it's so time consuming
Yeah,
and it
and so
really,
lonely and
yeah, and
it
it's so
drives me
lonely, it
crazy.
crushes my soul. And we're just like, and then what happened? And then people read it, and that's all you hear.
I'm dying. No, that is so incredibly true. So, so true. Well, I'm really excited for it and whatever I can do to help with that. Like if you ever need a beta reader, you let me know.
Oh,
But
you just made the biggest mistake of your life because I'm definitely gonna take you up on it.
no, you please no, seriously, please do. But no, I'm really really excited for that, and I'm excited to keep working in this space with you and everybody else that I'm talking to for this little series that I'm doing. It's been really good and like really reinvigorating, and in the same way that it probably will be at Stoker. That last year was the first year that I went, and like you said, some in-person events you just kind of can't recreate that magic or stage that magic. And for me, getting to spend actual time with the people that like I've made friendships with or like just getting to have that one-on-one like in-person time is really really important. So, and it's like I'm kind of like having my cake and eating it too by doing it virtually with all my podcast friends right before we leave and doing this. And then I know I'm going to get to see it mostly everybody whenever we go to Stoker. So,
It's good for the soul. It just
it
really
is.
is. These days, there's just not enough to lean into that's just so joyous, and this happens to be one
Yeah.
of the things. So you have to just have to take that leap and enjoy every second of it. But I will say this though. Okay, so you and I met when I reached out, and I do the Spotlight series because I want to amplify the people that amplify the people, and that was you. We're going to come around to round two. We're going to get past Stoker. I'm going to let everybody enjoy their summer. And then when we get to scary season in the fall, I'm going to start doing the Spotlight series, which is ongoing, but I'm going to start to bring you all back who I've already had on, and I'm going to start pairing you up. So
Oh,
it
right
could be
on, right on.
you and Scotty and Agatha, or you and Stephanie and Neil. I'm going to start to get a little more spicy, and instead of a one-on-one, we'll get a collective going. And then believe it or not, I'm going to shut up and just hang back and I'm going to let you all talk. And I want to, that's where the magic happens when you would get into that vibe and that groove of like, oh, and you talk to them. Oh, and you did that and you're reading that. And I can't wait for it. So be prepared.
Oh, that's a lovely idea. Definitely like just tell me when and where and I'm there. I really like that idea because there's so many fun things that come out of conversations like that.
Right?
It's a really really good time. So I'm all on board for that and whatever I can do to help, just let me know. I'm there.
Oh, you made my day. You made my day. Well, look, I'm going to be scheduling that during Stoker. So I'm going to be like,
Perfect.
you're here, and you're there. I'll see you in October.
Sounds great. I'll make sure I have my planner with me. Thank you so much, Sean. It's always a really good time to talk to you because one, your enthusiasm and your kind of joy for the work and what we're doing, it does help the morale boost, you know. So
Appreciate
anytime
that.
anytime that we can make that happen, I'm all on board. But I also really really enjoy and respect the opinions and like the insights that everybody has to offer of what they're seeing this year and it's been just really really nice to get to catch up with everybody and you of course were no obsession oh my gosh can I talk exception So thank you.
Don't you put me in that movie Obsession. Bad things happen in that movie. I don't want to
I
go there
think
at
I
all.
I think I'm going catch like one of my theater's last showings of Hokum tomorrow because I still haven't seen that. And then I'm gonna double it up on Thursday. I think I'm gonna try and go catch Obsession, and I think Passenger is another one that
Yeah.
they have coming out. I think I'm gonna try and do a double feature. So we'll see.
Oh, okay. Well, don't forget to stop and get a nightlight on the way
Yeah.
home because you're going to get scared and scared and scared. Oh, they're so good.
Perfect. Love to hear that. And I'll report back. I'll do a follow-up after that on social media. So look out for that.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm gonna be commenting furiously when I see that post. You are an
Perfect.
absolute delight. I'm putting it right back on you. Anytime you want to talk, you let me know. And honestly, I wait on your episodes like candy. I gobble them up. I couldn't love them anymore.
Thank you so much, Sean. It means a lot too that you're as generous as you are with your compliments because again, this can be a very, solo journey whenever you're a one-person show. So it's always really nice to get to connect with everybody. And whenever they're really nice, it's really nice too. So
Oh, you.
thank you so much, Sean.
All right, look, I'm gonna go have some pizza now. Yum yum.
First and foremost, another grand thank you to Sean for his kindness, enthusiasm, all of the compliments. I think I stand by the sentiment that it is impossible to be in a bad mood when you're talking to Sean. Or at least in my experience thus far. I always walk out of a conversation with Sean feeling like $1,000,000. So thank you so much for that, Sean. Really, truly, listening back to this months later, what an ego boost. Jokes aside, I sincerely am very thankful for kind of, touching upon Sean's history with the genre and kind of seeing where he thinks things will be going and how they are currently going. It's always really fascinating conversations to have, and to maybe see a few months down the line, a few years down the line, what things look like. And I feel like the podcasting format is great for kind of capturing this moment in amber where we're at. And if there's one thing that I want to add to the conversation surrounding film adaptations when it comes to horror media, I want more women. I really want more women. And I don't just say that as a woman. I'm sure I'm biased, but I recorded this at the beginning of the summer. This is actually longer ago than I thought, and I'm going to revisit that in a second. But we've seen Obsession blow up, we've seen Backrooms blow up, and I'm very, very happy for those creators. But I want some women. I want some women in my horror, and I'm super thrilled that Widow's Bay with Katie Dippold, like, that is awesome to me, and I want more of it. I want my films to reflect that, so that's what I'm rallying for in the future. And then the second point that I want to come back to is I recorded this episode before Darker Times was announced. So our whole entire conversation where we're talking about the need for more criticism in the horror literature space, I'm listening back to it now and I can't help but kind of laugh my ass off because wow, how times have changed. We are in the middle of our subscriber drive with Darker Times. It is week 2. Last week was incredible. We had some really, really profound guest pieces that were donated by Rachel Harrison, Haley Piper. Everybody just brought their A game with their writing. And then this week, we just kicked off the beginning of the week with a piece from Clay McLeod Chapman. We have so much more planned, and we're so excited to bring all of this to you. And we can't help but just feel so thankful for everybody who's donated a piece, who's liked, reshared, who subscribed. Even if you're subscribing for free, thank you so much. The paid subscribers, honestly, that's what the subscriber drive is for, right? Is where we're hoping to make this profitable so we can, bring on some freelancers and grow Darker Times and grow our coverage and do all these things. But we're just like immensely, speaking for myself, and I think also my colleagues at Darker Times, just thank you so much. And I hope that that the momentum keeps going in the next few weeks. And if you're curious about how you can keep the momentum going, I'm going to link in the show notes, in addition to all of Sean's stuff, all of Macabre Daily stuff, links for Darker Times. That way you can check us out. If you want to subscribe, now's a great time to do it. We've got so many subscriber-exclusive features coming that I think it really is worth your time to subscribe now. And most exciting of all, I'm going to be leading our first book club in the month of August. We're going to be reading The Library at Mount Char, which is a beloved book by so many, But I've never read it, and I'm so thrilled to get to share this experience with the paid subscribers of Darker Times. Again, all of this information can be found on our website. I'm going to link all of this stuff in the show notes, but, if you're looking for more out of horror literature, more commentary, more criticism, we have that for you at Darker Times, and I hope that you consider checking us out. But, yeah, I think that's all I have to say. This is a rather long outro for me. Thank you all so much for listening. And once again, just thank you so much again to Sean. Again, this has put me in a much better mood whenever I'm listening back and editing it. And I can't wait to share more of these kinds of conversations with you all. So until next time, I'll see you all then.